Hey everyone, welcome back. This is a Gauss build, I guess, but this time it's mostly a meme. Like, there's actual KPS problems with this setup, but that's an issue with the tile sets rather than the setup itself. You really want to find more open tiles to use this on so they can pull everything in. I wouldn't recommend using this really, but I thought it'd be a funny video to show you today for several reasons. I'd like to call this ROADKILL Gauss, but since you pass over them so many times, I'm not exactly sure if that counts. You're basically rolling back and forth on your enemies until they die. What is this really? A not so efficient slash tornado of copium and depression. But if you want to have some dumb fun, feel free to try it out. Who knows, I didn't put as much thought into this one, so you might find a way to make it work even better than I've shown here. This was mainly an idea I was discussing in Discord call with some people while I was working on the DAIKYU video a few days ago to see if it was doable, so let's dive right in. Today we're killing enemies with Mach Rush. It has an interesting synergy with the rest of this kit. Mach Rushing while kinetic plating is active will inflict force slash on any enemy caught within the AoE when you hit an obstacle. Unfortunately, it has fall off, but that won't be a problem for us. The damage of Mach Rush is also boosted if you're dashing from inside a thermal sunder area. This damage boost scales the base damage of your ability AoE and applies before the slash dots, so it can boost the crap out of them. On the build I'm showing you later, this is actually a pretty big buff, nearly a 3 times total multiplier on the slash. So those are the two things to ramp up its slash dots. We're also going to be running Mach Crash, an augment that creates a suction wherever you hit an obstacle. This is how we're going to be grouping enemies all into one place for some pretty damage. It works extremely well since enemies essentially run towards their own deaths and then get ragdolled to the epicenter of the storm. So how can we boost this further? Well, conventional buffs don't work because Mach Rush is an ability, but we are applying slash dots. And what affects slash dots? Why, the Universal Bane Roar, of course. And because our kit relies on his 2 and 3 to buff his 1, ironically, this means we have to subsume off Redline. The blasphemy, am I right? But that's the cost of this meme. What did it cost? Everything. Anyways, this is a cursed Roar Helminth build that removes this 4. Yep. How does this work? You just find more open areas to ram into obstacles or walls to pull enemies when they get closer. Magus Anomaly also helps extend the pullout to about 30 meter radius. It's pretty dumb, but it works. You want the build? Here's the build. You'll see we went for a ton of range. That's because we want to suck as many enemies as we can into the vortex we create. More enemies sucked in means less casts of Mach Rush required to kill the room. Otherwise, you're going to spend a lot of time setting up multiple rushes to clear a single crowd. Granted, Mach Crash still doesn't have enough range to really clear properly, but this is a meme, and his 1, so what did you expect? This also makes you less dependent on Magus Anomaly, which we will be using to pull further enemies. Less time forced to spam, this means more time spent on watching the meme unfold. We also want some strength because this will affect our damage output obviously, but also because, look, it's a cursed Gauss build. We subsumed off his 4, Redline. This is just like that time I subsumed off Mesa's 4, but it's an actual abomination this time. Why did I do this? Without kinetic plating, you don't get the slash and thus no scaling damage. Mach Rushing into the zone adds damage from Thermal Sunder as part of the base damage on your AoE before all other calculations. So if we create a heat damage AoE where we decide to suck enemies in, every Mach Rush in the corresponding AoE will do so much more damage, which means the only ability we can remove is Redline. As the damage of Mach Rush, Thermal Sunder, and Roar all depend on strength, you'd imagine that'd be an extremely important stat on this build, but it actually isn't as important as you think since we can spam Mach Rush. We've only slotted Umbral Intensify, Transient, and Growing Power to get up to 174 strength. It's more important to make the build comfier to use, therefore we went for as big range as we can reasonably fit and Equilibrium instead of efficiency mods. We can get a ton of energy from the Panzer Viral Quill Synset synergy, more than you get from Streamline as an equivalent form of energy economy. Fleeting instead would be nice, but we don't have that much slots left to run duration. Only enough for prime continuity or narrow-minded, and we don't want to gut our range. That's why we did not pick fleeting. 128 duration is enough in this case as it allows roar and kinetic plating to last 38 seconds each, which is manageable. The Thermal Sunder zones last 19 seconds, but that's mostly irrelevant. You only need them for about 5 to 10 seconds at most. Mach Crash still manages to reach 17.6 meter radius with 220 range. Pulling enemies to the epicenter also maximizes the amount of DPS since the AoE has fall off. Also, the ragdolled enemies have no collision, so you're free to spam repeatedly in the same spot without having them interfere. Null nullifiers because whatever. I can't really think what else you'd want to slot for an arcane here. It is a free slot though, so run whatever you want. Maybe Eruption is also viable to knock down enemies within the 30 meters since you're pulling all the enemies and loot to yourself anyways. Energize to help with the economy even further to cover the high ability spam on this build, and Prime Flow to accompany it and stock up on energy when you get into orb draws. Finally, Vigilante Pursuit to find the highest enemy density and maximize the lackluster KPS. For our primer today, we're using an Epitaph to prime everything nearby. I don't want to run Prime Fulmination actually because this can actually screw the pull on enemies that are too far away, as well as preventing them from pathing within mock crash range if I shoot it willy-nilly. Instead, we want as high viral weight as possible. No other elements matter since CO doesn't exist for abilities. We've also slotted both Augur mods and both status duration mods for free shield gate regen and extending viral procs in 9.6 seconds. Lethal momentum makes shots hit their mark faster, and secondary dexterity for in case when you want to bring a melee. While you can kill acolytes with mock crash as shown here, it is mostly a meme and I would strongly recommend bringing a proper melee to do the job instead. Honestly, I'm sticking with my Vassalok as always so I can use it as a hybrid build to both armor strip and kill them with a heavy shot. This is that hybrid build. It's just built for raw IPS since I expect the Acolyte to be fully stripped and I want the full crit scaling on a heavy efficiency build. For the Panzer build, it's nothing special, same as always. Viral Quills to spread procs further and within the ball of enemies trapped within mock crash to guarantee I cap out the stacks to 10. Martyr to save me if I screw up, Panzer for infinite lives, Tech Assault so I can potentially ignore moments it gets yeeted, and the all-important synth mods. If you're using a magazine primer like Nuke, this can holster reload it, but I'm using Epitaph. More importantly, Synth Deconstruct has a 25% chance to drop health orbs from enemies with pet assists, which is where Viral Quills tags everything. Synth Fiber lets me continually pick up health orbs even when full HP and allows me to convert it into even more energy with Equilibrium on Gauss. The final mods are just token links, radar, and vacuum. Now the meme is complete. The remaining footage is just watching the setup unfold on Steel Path. You really want to find more open tiles that easily let you group enemies together. Spawn pathing is extremely important for this, else you will quickly fall behind on life support. You don't really want to camp a corner, rather you'll be going back and forth between denser spawn pathways to group them together to kill. That's about it. Remember, this is just to have fun, if you're willing to zoom off his red line. Also, you may want to use a darker energy color than I showed here. Ha! If this is your first time watching, feel free to leave a like or better yet subscribe. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. 79.5% of you are not subscribed. I'm trying my best to get you new information out always as soon as possible, like I've done with the Covering the Sisters of Parvos and Plaguestar updates. Stick around if you want to see interesting memes and builds on a nearly daily basis. I'm also preparing to get you info first once more new war info drops. You don't want to miss out on any of that, do you? That'll be it for this video. Thank you all for watching and see you all next time.